For everyone that's listening and out in the room, we're coming back into regular session. Please take your seats. As soon as President Broussard returns, we will reconvene.
We're all back, Charlie, Nick. So
Yes, President Broussard, we have a quorum, everyone back online and in the room. Thank you.
So we will pick up where we left off. We had a motion on the table and a second, and we were could you remind us of the motion? Sorry.
President Broussard, the motion on the table was to approve Cowboy Racing's live event application for the 2025 race season only.
And with the
As
race
submitted,
date, with the race dates
dates
as
as
submitted. Okay, now we'll open it up to questions from the commission. Have any, do we have questions from, or comments from the gallery? Tracy?
Quickly, was there a second on that motion?
There was.
Okay, thank you.
Dan?
Thank you, everyone. It's sort of, sorry, I'm sitting behind you. It's sort of awkward. Tracy Laycock, General Counsel for Wyoming Downs. Just a couple of things to consider as you move forward. I think everybody agrees here today that a completed track is not an oval in the ground. As a current permittee, we're required to maintain a lot of facilities to be able to race. And it appears today that Cowboy Racing agrees with that. I think that to ensure that everyone is on the same page, that the racing permit needs to be conditioned upon the approval. I haven't seen the phase one, but I think listening, it seems like it's all the infrastructure that the current operators have at their facilities. So that it's clear that when the racing permit is handed over, that all those things are completed. Everybody's on the same page. So while respectfully I agree it's in their application, I do think it needs to be clear in the motion that those have to be completed for the race permit to be given. I wanted to just talk a little bit about a timing issue with the inspections that we experienced last year, which is that Wyoming Downs, and I conferred with the other operators during the executive session break, we received that report in the middle of our season. And so I think as we look forward, if that inspection is going to, you're going to say, okay, here's the inspection, you have to complete all these items before you're able to race. We just need to think about timing, and that probably, we need to communicate that here when that's going to be, because all those items, infrastructure items, will have to be completed. So just something to think about. As we sit here today and Cowboy Racing talks about the phases and what needs to be completed, there's a lot of, I think they agree, there's a lot of work to be done before they're going to be able to race. And as historically, the permittees and the racing permits, I know we've talked about this at meetings prior, but your racing permit isn't actually delivered to you until the Gaming Commission comes out to your facility, looks at everything, goes through everything, and then you're handed your racing permit. Some days that's a couple days, a week before you actually race. And we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is that coupled with this live racing permit is a simulcast permit. And I think we all agree there's a lot that has to be completed for the race permit to actually be handed to them and say, you're good to race. Those same conditions need to be on the simulcast permit. All of those items in that phase, the sheet that you have in front of you, needs to be completed for a simulcast permit to be valid. You have to have a completed track. You have to be at least able to race. And there's a lot to be done. And you can't, what I hear is that they want to go and open OTBs maybe within Q1 of 2025. I don't know, I haven't seen their business plan. But you're also saying you can't race until you complete all this infrastructure. So I think those two things go hand in hand. What we have to think about is, if this is not successful and you allow OTBs to be opened, we're all going to be sitting having a really difficult conversation at the end of next year, because at every one of those OTBs there's employees. Those are families. And if they aren't able to meet the criteria to continue that simulcast permit, then we're faced with a difficult situation. So what I'm just saying is, let's make sure, right, as an industry, they're committed to completing all those items to get their live racing permit. And their simulcast permit needs to be conditioned upon the same thing.
Thank you, Tracy. You guys want to comment?
Mr. President, I suppose I shouldn't be shocked that our competitor doesn't want us to get our license. But the reality is that was not an accurate statement of Wyoming law or Wyoming rule. We sit here today having satisfied every single requirement in the statute and in the rule for the issuance of our permits, and we believe it's appropriate. We asked for a 3-year license. We've heard comment from several commissioners that you all maybe think a 1-year license is more appropriate. Okay, look, we're reasonable people, you know, we're willing to understand that and accept that. But the notion, was a subtext there, she didn't come right out and say it, but the notion that our HHR operations and simulcast operations can't start until we've actually satisfied all the requirements for running the meet and have received, you know, the final permit. That's not what the law says. In fact, if you were to take that view, I think that would mean every single operator has to shut off every machine on January 1 and then can't start them operating until they've made it through the portion of the calendar that has their race dates on it. That's not the law. So again, we respectfully request the issuance of our live event permit application. We're going to speak next about the simulcast and HHR, and we feel it's appropriate that that be issued as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. President, my name is Macrina Sharp. I'm an attorney with Holland and Hart, and I represent Wyoming horse racing. I just want to echo some of the things that Tracy said, because it's not a matter of competitors wanting to preclude competitors coming to the market, right? The difference here is we're in uncharted territory, right? There hasn't been a track built in Wyoming in a long time, and so this commission's in a position where it's going to set precedent, right? And the first type of precedent you're going to set is what is the definition of a completed track, because that is the first precondition that starts the ball rolling, right? They have to have a completed track before they can be issued a live event permit. And they have to have been issued a live event permit before they can receive a simulcast permit. So frankly, the way that I read the statutes goes even further, and the way that I read the statutes requires a lot more. And I don't see a lot of room for these types of conditioned approvals, but I understand that that I see the reasonable approach, and I see the fact that we want, that this commission has a vested interest in their success, but so do we as an industry. And we have an interest in having a safe standard, and having our position known that we don't believe that an oval in the ground is a completed track, and I do not think that can be the foundation to turn around tomorrow and open OTBs. The only other thing I would just say is timing. We're looking at a 1-year permit with a significant amount of overlap, and I understand that the commission has said, we'll come back, work with the entities you're gonna overlap with. I don't see the rush to do it today. The commission has just received the gaming study. It's a significant study, and I think that there's no reason that we can't take the time to talk with them about these competing days, to have the commission consider the study. And that's the problem, and the elephant in the room, as Tracy so put it, is that I think the concern is the only rush is they'd like to start opening OTBs. And frankly, I disagree. I truly do not believe that's contemplated under Wyoming law. So.
Thank you. A few minutes. You'd like to comment on that? before we move on?
Yeah, Mr. President, that was largely a rehash of the same argument, so I won't repeat all my rebuttal, but I would like to make 2 points. First of all, the definition of what is a completed track is very clear in the rules and statute, and we have submitted our certified report of a completed track. So we have accomplished that. The second, again, to this notion that perhaps we shouldn't be allowed to open our simulcast facilities until after we've already run 16 days. 2 comments. There's nowhere in the rules or statute that distinguishes between the first year of operation. There's one set of rules, and after you've already run, there's a second set of rules. So if you were to apply that standard to us, again, every operator would have to shut down on January 1st until they've run their complete meet. However, there was also a rule proposed last meeting that actually would have affirmatively stated that you need to run 16 days prior to the commencement of simulcasting. And that rule was not only was it not voted on and approved, it wasn't even discussed. So the fact that that rule was introduced, in my mind, is conclusive evidence that that rule doesn't exist today, and that therefore we should receive both our live event permit as well as our simulcast and HHR permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other comments? Any more questions from the commission? No? Not seeing any. We will call the vote as presented. So all those in favor of, do we need to read the motion again? That's
President Broussard, so the motion on the floor is to approve Cowboy Racing's application for the 2025 live race season as presented with those dates.
Thank you. All in favor of that, say aye. Or all in favor, all opposed, say no.
No.
Okay. Do we want a roll call? I didn't. Let's do a roll call vote.
President Broussard.
Yes.
Vice President Cavello. Yes. Commissioner Torgerson.
No.
Commissioner Bowl. Yes. Commissioner Schiffer.
Yes.
Commissioner Rithaller.
No.
Commissioner Kura.
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco.
No.
Commissioner Wildcat.
No.
President Broussard, you have 5 yeses and 4 nos.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, well, let's, at this point, take a break for lunch. What time do we want to come back? 1:15? We'll be back in session at 1:15. Charlie, start the roll call.
President Broussard.
I'm here.
Vice President Cavello. Commissioner Torgerson. Commissioner Torgerson, are you there? We'll hold his just a second here. Commissioner Bowl. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Schiffer. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Ritholler. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Cura. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Francisco.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Wildcat. Here. Thank you. Representative Liaison, Senator Driscoll. Here. Representative Newsom. Thank you. Governor Liaison, he is here as well. Joining us.
Yeah, I'm here.
And Roger Torgerson is online. We do have a quorum.
Back.
Thank you.
All right. If I remember correctly, we are on, there you go. It's time to start. We knew the liaisons were good for something. All right, so we're on, if I'm not mistaken here. This is you? No, this is, okay. Item 12D, Cowboy Racing Simulcast and Historic Horse Racing Application.
President Broussard, the next item on the agenda, item 12D, is Cowboy Racing LLC's application to conduct simulcasting and historic horse racing operations. In your application, in your packet, starting on page 466, you will see the completed application for simulcast and historic racing. I want to make sure that everybody understands that this is not for a location-specific OTB. This is a general OTB permit that assigns the number for simulcast operations, showing that they've met the criteria, i.e. the live racing permit, in order to move forward with simulcasting. Each individual location will have to come back before you with county approvals, floor plan layouts, feasibility studies. So you'll see further, or there will be further approvals in the future. This is strictly just for the number. Included in the application was the $100,000 bond. That's also included in your packet. They plan on operating HHR and simulcasting 364 days, closed on Christmas Day, which is pretty standard. Their application packet included all of their plans, financial statements. We've reviewed all of that, and we haven't found anything glaring out of that that would cause any concern with that either. The one thing that is important to remember too with the simulcasting operations is the direct correlation with simulcasting and live racing. Under current commission rules, it states that you must run 16 days of live racing to operate simulcasting. Failure to run those 16 days without good cause, i.e. historically what that's been is weather. If it's weather related, if you get snowed out or rained, I know last year or the year before we had a power outage that we couldn't run. Outside of that, if it's an act of God, there's a chance that that'll be forgiven. But if it's, construction builds or whatever else, and I know that's been a concern, that's most likely not going to raise to the level of good cause. So that would ultimately suspend simulcast operations for the remainder of that year and the next year. And that is a shall in the rules. There's no may. It's not something that's really negotiable. I would stand for any questions on this. Other than that, the simulcast application appears in good order. The plans look really good. Yeah, I'd stand for any questions.
Okay, so unless you guys want to add something, we'll open up for a motion.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
a question for Nick.
Yep.
Do they have to run all 16 races before the simulcast is effective, or can they just have the races set up and they run one race, and are they good to go at that time?
President Broussard, I'm not an attorney. I'm just going to read what our current rule book says. The current rule book states, a simulcast permit applicant shall apply for and actually conduct a minimum of 16 live flat track horse racing parimutuel event days in the same calendar year. That's what the rule states.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? So you guys don't want to add anything, so we'll, we'll open up for a motion. Yes, Commissioner Bowles?
I'd make a motion to approve the simulcast and historic racing application of Cowboy Racing 2025 through 2027.
Okay, thank you.
President Broussard, this could only be for 2025 because it has to mirror the live event permit.
Oh, okay, so amended.
Amended. Okay,
All second.
Dan Schiffer seconded. So just for clarity, could you repeat the motion?
President Broussard, the motion on the floor would be to approve Cowboy Racing LLC's simulcast application and HHR for 2025.
Thank you, Nick. Now we'll open up for discussion, questions. We have a hand, Roger Torgerson. We'll go first.
Roger.
Commissioner Torgerson.
Hey, so, yeah, my question is, if they have to run 16 race days, this actually wouldn't go into effect until after they're done running those race days, correct?
Somebody who with a law degree.
President Broussard, Commissioner Torgerson, so the rule says that they have to run 16 days in the same calendar year. That's all the rule says.
Okay. Commissioner Cavella.
Mr. President, thank you. My question is, have we ever had anybody open OTBs before they've run a complete racing schedule?
President Broussard, Vice President Cavello, I can't speak to Wyoming Downs, Wyoming horse racing. That was before my time. I will say that this is consistent with the approval that we gave 307 in 2020. They were approved for their live event permit and their simulcast permit in the same meeting. That was in September of 2020. However, they did not open their first OTB until after they ran their races. But I can't find anything that shows that they didn't open that because they were directed that they couldn't. They'd actually applied and they were missing some documentation, and it came shortly after they finished their race season.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the commission? Anything? Commissioner Ridall.
Yeah, thank you, President Broussard. So, but if they do not run, it's over January next year, in November or whatever the year time, whenever it happens.
President Broussard, so the way it reads now, if they fail to run their 16 days, so in this case, we're looking at August.
Okay.
So if they failed to run their 16 days during August, September 1, they would lose, September 2, they would lose their simulcast abilities for September, October, November, December, and then all of 2026.
Thank you.
Further questions from the commission? Okay, at this point, we'll open up for comments or questions from the gallery, public. We have any? Mr. Kyle, you have the floor.
Kyle Ridgway with 307 Horse Racing. I want to be clear about what happened with 307 Horse Racing. There were conditions that were placed on our simulcast permit, specifically that we had to get a location, we had to get county approval, we had to come back. There were specific conditions that I'm sure Director Laramandi informed you guys on. So this commission does have the ability, based on prior practice, to place conditions on the simulcast permit. I think from our perspective, the only thing that we want to ensure that happens is that everybody's required to play by the same rules. And what's interesting here is that this is a different situation than what 307 Horse Racing had, because there was an existing facility that had races, and there were conditions that we had to meet to fix that facility up and do a variety of different things. I think the interesting thing now is, I know we had to submit a business plan and feasibility studies I don't know, I have not seen their application. I don't know whether those are in there or not. We all have guesses about what the plan is. It sounds like from the prior testimony that they intend to open OTBs in a bunch of these different communities. I would just caution that in considering this, you know, you all do have statutory obligations to evaluate the study that the Wyoming taxpayers paid for in evaluating each location that potentially comes. I do know that in a variety of meetings, when Mr. Greer was going through the permitting process, that there were numerous attempts by this commission to require Mr. Greer to engage in 100-mile rule discussions in advance of his permit. I can tell you all that that has not happened as far as I know. I actually had to call my counsel to find out if we'd been reached out to, because I was not aware that we'd been reached out to. We have not been. We'll obviously all have to chat as a result of this, but the simulcast permit is a totally different statutory framework. It has different rules. There is a potential opportunity here with conditions that you may have discretion to place. I'm not going to advocate for what conditions those may be, to continue to have assurance that what is proposed to be built actually gets built and constructed. And hey, I mean, if those guys complete what they're supposed to complete and they play by the same rules that everybody else had to play by, then so be it. But, you know, you all also have a statutory obligation to ensure what occurs is what's best for Wyoming. That includes analyzing saturation. And this is the first time that this commission's actually had a third-party study that the Wyoming taxpayers have paid for. We've always submitted third-party feasibility studies with our OTBs. So that's my only feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Ridgway. Do we have other comments, questions, or would you guys like to comment on the comment?
Mr. President, just to address that, again, I'll keep it simple. I mean, we've satisfied all the statutory requirements for the issuance of this permit. We believe it's appropriate to receive approval today. As Commissioner Laramundi said, there will be no OTB opened until we come back to you with floor plans and details and all that. So it's already built into the motion you would be making. We think those concerns have been addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Dan? Commissioner Schiffer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Laramendi, it's my understanding that you said that the conditions for this permit have been met. Is that correct?
President Broussard, Commissioner Schiffer, that is correct. Under Wyoming state law, it says that you have to have a live event permit in order to qualify for a simulcast permit. That's the condition that they have. Again, this is not a location specific. This is really just for a permit number. That's all this is going to do. As they build out locations, they will have to provide feasibility studies, the floor plans, county resolutions, all of that other stuff that you're familiar with seeing on new locations, that will be coming in those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Covello?
It's kind of a chicken before the egg kind of deal here. I know HHRs were brought in to support horse racing, and yet we don't have horse racing yet, and yet you look to have the support to bring the money in to help fund this. I get all that. You know, I guess there's a lot of leap of faith on several terms. Obviously, these people have taken a leap of faith by putting all the money into that they have so far. A good chunk of money, and we've kind of taken a leap of faith by giving them the live racing permit. This is another level that, to me, it's never quite happened this way. It would be another leap of faith, and I just, I'm uncomfortable. I'm just uncomfortable with the fact that we have so many unknowns, and yet, in all appearances, these people intend to do exactly what they say they are, and I know many of them to be extremely honorable folks, but it almost feels like we're slightly got the horse before the carriage, or the carriage before the horse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to address that, if I might.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, there is a time period between your approval today of this application and us going out and doing all the groundwork to come back with a specific OTB location. Were you to take the view, and I hope this isn't Commissioner Cavella's view, but were you to take the view that you were not going to issue our simulcast and HHR license today, then effectively what you're doing is ensuring that we've just been pushed down the road and can't start the process for many, many months or until you do decide to issue the permit. We think it's appropriate that we be allowed to start that process today. It's putting us in a very difficult position to try to go to talk to the county for the county approval, or go to talk to locations when we don't have this license yet. So frankly, it probably won't be a material, I mean, if we go as quickly as is humanly possible, there probably won't be a material difference between when our OTB simulcast locations open and when our live racing begins, just by the nature of the lead time we need to get the OTBs developed and opened. And I guess I would implore you, to the extent you approved us earlier to spend all the money, which is what you did, please approve us now to make some revenue to help pay for all that by granting this application as well, so that we can start the process of getting the OTBs open. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any more questions, comments? Charlie? So I guess it's never been asked directly, but is it your intention to open OTBs prior to racing?
It is our intention to leave here today with a simulcast and HHR license, and to then work as quickly as reasonably possible in good business practice and in good regulatory and safety practice to get our revenue stream started. So when exactly the first OTB would be open, right now, it is an unknown because we haven't even come to you and asked for approval of it yet. And so you get another bite at the apple. So I don't know exactly how the timing plays out, other than to say, even if we go as quickly as possible, it will be close in terms of whether we start racing before simulcasting before racing, or right about at the same time.
Thank you for that. Did you have? No, okay. Any other questions before we call the vote? Not seeing any. We will, all in favor of approving the simulcasting for 2025, state aye.
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 If anyone's opposed, say no. I don't think we need a roll call. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think that's been that. Okay. Sorry, our side conversation is over. We're going to go to item number 13, historic horse racing request.
President Broussard, those were all approved on the consent list
That's what I meant.
yesterday.
I knew that. That was yesterday, though.
Yeah.
I can't remember if yesterday. All right, so 14 then, or did we do that one yesterday? No. OTB request from Wyoming Horse Racing LLC.
President Broussard, item number 14 is a request from Wyoming Horse Racing for additional terminals at the new build at 755 Prospector Drive in Evanston, Wyoming. If you'll recall, earlier this year, we're going to be on page 562.
Thank you.
Earlier this year, this had been brought as a kind of a two-part. It was the Laramie County and Uintah County. This is strictly for, I'm sorry, that was ultimately tabled. So this is just bringing the Evanston property off. Currently, this request is asking to add 736 terminals to the available terminal count for the Uintah County facility. Inside your packet, you will see a couple of new things. There is a letter of support from the city of Evanston. Evanston had written a letter stating that they don't have an issue with the terminal account. There's also a new county resolution from Uinta County, resolution number 2441. This resolution actually just adjusts the wording at the bottom to where it says, the County of Uinta, Wyoming approves Wyoming Horse Racing LLC expansion of its operation at 755 Prospector Drive, Evanston, Wyoming, 82930 location to offer up to a total of 1,036 gaming terminals. Also in your packet, you'll see a updated economic impact study. This was commissioned by Wyoming Horse Racing from a third party. I would stand for any questions on this request.
Okay, do you guys want to make some comments before we?
I do.
You have the floor.
Thank you, no worries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, John. Pete Liguori from Wyoming Horse Racing. I wanted to at least explain what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish and why now. We had previously discussed the master plan process for both of our touristic properties. And we all agreed this summer, I think it was May, to table that discussion. There was a lot of uncomfort about the size and the direction this was going, concerns about the gaming study not being issued, and many, many other things. So we basically decided to take a more precise look and a more precise discussion with the local community, City of Evanston, and the county to make absolutely sure they had no concerns about the direction this was going. And that's why we got a very specific letter of support and a very specific county resolution, because we didn't want there to be any doubt. So the reason we're bringing it forward now is, as I mentioned earlier with Swan Ranch, that project took over 2 years from inception to completion. And this is an even bigger project, and this will probably take 2.5 to 3 years to finish. And as I mentioned earlier today, we're actually under construction in Evanston, what we are calling phase one, the initial project. Our belief is that if we are able to secure approval today, what we'd like to start doing is doing the detailed architectural and engineering work now for the second phase. And part of the reason for that is the success we've seen at Swan Ranch. We think we'll see similar acceptance on the other side of the state from the customers coming from Utah. Quite honestly, we don't want to wait to be able to move to that next step. So our view is any work we can do now will save us time in the long run. Reason why we're not here in front of you talking about Swan Ranch, which is actually open, candidly, is just logistics and timing of us getting in front of the different governmental bodies for Laramie County and the city of Cheyenne. We actually have the letter of support from the city of Cheyenne. We also made a decision to scale back the increase in Laramie County. We're going to do it in bite-sized pieces. So at some point, probably in December, we'll be coming back to you with a package for Swan. But it's just a timing issue for us at the moment. And it's a big commitment for us to spend the architectural and engineering work. It's probably over $1.5 million just to do that initial work. We want to make sure there are no issues with this type of direction we're going. And obviously, we're not clairvoyant. We didn't know what the gaming study was going to say, but as we read through it, it actually supports what we're trying to do. So our thinking is that should give you some additional comfort as well, that this is a great way for the state to increase tax dollars from out-of-state visitors, tourism dollars effectively.
Thank you.
Please, John.
President Bouchard.
Oh, sorry.
John Sheldon, Wyoming Horse Race. Just to add on to what Pete said, the increase in the terminals supports the infrastructure for the master plan, which includes a hotel, more restaurants, a theater, and other amenities that we need to attract customers from. It may go to Windover, Nevada, as an example. So I just wanted to point that it's a huge commitment, and
That's fair, John. I didn't get to that yet, but yeah, this isn't just about the terminals. The terminals alone would not be able to be supported without these other amenities, which is why the facility is substantial in size and cost, as you can see in the economic study. So really, this has to be done as a package in our mind. It won't be successful. When we started interacting with customers coming from Swan Ranch, as an example, one of the first things we heard from most of the Colorado customers were, when are you going to build a hotel? When we go to Blackhawk, we stay overnight, or we stay several days. So that got us thinking about Evanston, of course, and said, okay, well, maybe we should be pushing this issue a little bit harder. And the theater for us is also important because what we've seen in Swan Ranch is there's been a great acceptance of this. We have a very small stage in Swan behind the bar, and customers love it. And we get crowds for that. And it's another reason to stop in. I probably should also mention we're going to have a Dunkin' Donuts in Evanston, which seems to be a big attractor. So the thought process is, how many different reasons can we give an out-of-state customer a reason to come into Wyoming and spend an afternoon or maybe several days? So to John's point, it really is, although we understand you're really approving the HHR units, for us, it's more about the whole package as a process that we want to go through. So, sorry.
Thank you. Any questions for the folks from Wyoming Horse Racing? Nothing? Okay, then at this point, we'll entertain a motion. And
I'd move that we accept their application as presented.
thank you, Commissioner Torgensen. Do we have a second? Commissioner Red Holler. Now we'll open it up for more questions. Specific questions about the Evanston OTB? Yep, go ahead, Commissioner Wildcat.
Actually, just a quick question, just for my own reference, and might be Nick that actually answers this, is what's the current count for active versus approved at this point?
President Broussard, if I could have just 1 second here.
I'll give you 3.
Total for Wyoming, yeah, statewide.
Anybody know a joke?
Let's get there.
Those little old mouses flying across the screen. Yeah.
Dun, dun. Some Jeopardy music.
Really?
We're not all watching.
Also, the problem is
He's there.
I moved some stuff around to try to make it more organized, and I forgot where I put it. Which number would you like?
Active and approved.
Total across the state
No,
for Wyoming Horse Racing? So currently, right now, Wyoming Horse Racing is approved for 1,468, and they have 900 active. Part of that is because 300 of those, which would make it 1,200, are for the original Evanston property. That's not open yet. The majority of their other terminal accounts, they're within about 10 terminals of their approved numbers at most properties.
Bob Davis.
So this is on top of the original 300?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yes, Commissioner.
thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Nick. Okay, any other comments, questions before we call the vote? All right, we will call the vote. All in favor of approving the application as presented, state aye.
Aye.
If anyone's opposed, say no. Okay, that passed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the support.
Okay, item number 15, Nick, is that you?
Thank you, President Broussard. Our item number 15A, legislative update. Coming up here in a few weeks, December 10th, JAC will be looking at 6 bills: gaming amendment bill, interstate export of Wyoming horse racing, signals, parimutuel wagering breakage bill, quantity and locations of historic racing devices. The 5th one will be local approval for historic racing permitting. And then finally, the Wyoming Gaming Commission composition. We don't have a copy of the most recent bills. I believe, as I understand it, they are still working with those and fine tuning those. Those are not on the website, but the agenda is set for the 10th of December in Cheyenne. If you want more details on this, we can go into it. If not, we can move on. It's up to you, commissioners.
Sorry, say that last part again. Cactus was distracting me.
Sure. What did you say?
More details?
No. I think,
President Broussard?
Yeah.
One other point just to that, we're still working with the subcommittee from Joint Appropriations on several of these bills. I don't know if you saw the last JAC meeting, we made it a few pages into one, and then a lot of them got pushed back to the subcommittee. So we're still,
they're looking at our
yeah,
study.
so we're still actively working with the subcommittee to try to answer any questions. Okay. And for the record, I will be actually gone. I will be in Tucson during that time, but I'll be remoting in for that meeting.
I'll be there, Chris.
Thank you. Anything from over there on the end? You guys, no? Okay, then, sorry for grab-assing with the cactus, but 15 Bravo, if you don't mind.
President Broussard, item 15B is going to be the year-end compliance update. In years past, these are the graphs that I have supplied the commission, just kind of an overall view of metrics that we track internally. I did change these a little bit. I think last year, Mr. Ridgway had pointed out that I had my calculations wrong, and it was weird because it was showing up part when it was adding and it shouldn't have been. So these are now just total numbers. Real quickly, we completed 168 OTB inspections, and this is through October 1st. We've had this year 16 OTB complaints or compliance issues. Those range from the typical consumer complaint that, this machine took my money, to just an employee maybe not displaying their badge as required by rule. The next one, we've completed 3,438 skill game terminal inspections, meaning that we have touched 3,438 individual skill games throughout the course of 10 months. Skill game complaints and compliance on that is 16. It's kind of the same thing. A lot of the skill game complaints that we get usually is a ticket doesn't print, and our number's the most predominant one on the machine, so they call us first. We just forward those to the vendors, and they're really good at taking care of those. Gambling complaints and investigations, this is going to be under Title VI. These are criminal investigations and gambling complaints. In 2024, we opened 10 criminal cases. Some of them are working their way through the court systems now, and I'll give details on those as soon as I can. Currently, this figure is now wrong on the Wyoming bread inspections. We have completed 850. So almost the entire first round of inspections we have been able to complete by today. The only area that we currently have left is actually the Casper area, and we usually save that for when the weather's bad. I can drive across town, even though I don't get to drive across town anymore. The next set of metrics on here is all of the live event statistics. So you'll see on this one, we completed 2,680 barn inspections. We monitored the gate 540 times, and we monitored the saddling paddock 540 times. The saddling paddock and the gate the starting gate monitoring, that's going to be capped unless we add race dates. With the addition of our new safety officer, our safety officer is at those 2 locations for every race, which allows our investigators to be back in the barn area or in the jocks area, kind of focusing their attention on those 2 things, which has been extremely helpful. Just kind of go to the very bottom of this. I think the most important one is going to be on page 610. You'll see on this one, in 2013, we had 14 fatal breakdowns due to racing. In 2024, we had 5. That gives us 1.2 deaths per 1,000 out of 4,331 starts. We are below the national average. Mind you that the number 5 number on there was some other breakdowns that were not attributed to racing. It was a couple crazy horses and 1 during training, I believe. With that, I'd stand for any questions on these reports.
I just have one quick question. It doesn't have to be an exact number, just a percentage. If you have, out of the 3,000 skill games, were some of those done by the alcohol inspector guys? Was that all our guys?
These 3,000 were all our guys.
Okay, all right. So, but we do have the option to use.
We're starting, yep. We've started working with WASCOP on some other compliance stuff moving forward. Like I said, this was just through October 1.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, sir? All right, thank you. All right. It's 15, Charlie.
President Broussard, item 15C was also on the consent list.
Okay, never mind. Well, you go to the next one then, whatever it is.
President Broussard, I don't have a whole lot to add with sports wagering. We did a few rule changes, and just to let you guys know, I'm going to continue to monitor what's going on nationally with the limiting and report back to you guys when I get some more information on it.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. All right.
President Broussard, also with the sports wagering, you'll notice in your packet, and I had emailed this all to you back in October, we had received notification from the FBI, the Criminal History Division, that they also do not like the Wyoming state statutes for online sports wagering. They say that they are too broad. It's the exact same thing that we dealt with the parimutuel side of the house. In this instance, I'm confident that we are going to be able to get through this. We've got some really good guidance that we're working towards very diligently. We've reached out to other regulators across the nation and industry, and we're making some real progress with this. I'll keep you posted on it, but I'm pretty confident that we can get this one cleaner and quicker than we were able to the last one.
Okay. So that's a question from Mike. Is it definitive that we have to use the FBI? Because I was kind of getting, can we use a national background check company? No.
Mr. President, the way I read the statutes, that we do have to use the FBI.
It's named, it's like.
A national, I'll take a look. I know that we've looked at some other options, there's say a Western States background check.
Well, I mean, I know of national background checks that are going to be used for this transition team. That's not going to be the FBI. So they may be as legitimate as, or maybe more.
Mr. President, as part of working with commission staff, I'll take a look at that and see if those are any options. I know that our criminal division in our office is also looking at this too, because they have some, FBI has taken issue with some other statutes in Wyoming state law.
I think that'd be good to know, because that might be at least a short-term fix for us. Okay, thank you. Carry on.
President Broussard, along those lines, we are
Hang on,
still.
hold on. Dan has a question.
Mr. President, Mr. Steinberg, I took a lot out of Mr. Spanky's presentation yesterday. And I really think, and I don't know whether it needs to be a motion or otherwise, but we ought to get the data from these companies on what they're doing to our gamblers here in, our sports bettors here in Wyoming. If, we need to evaluate whether that's a fair practice or not. And if we take Spanky at his word, that's about the only avenue we got to find out.
So,
I don't know how it goes, but.
so
I think-
Massachusetts has asked for that data from what and so Nick or Charlie, you guys have his Spanky's contact information?
Mr. President, that is correct.
Because he said that Massachusetts was asking for that data. So if you guys can just see if we can get a copy of, that would be great.
I think we also should get
Our own data.
our own data about our sports wagerers.
Mr. President, yeah, the data from where, whichever one, actually, I got it yesterday. I can find it. It's specific to that state. Mr. Steinberg and I had actually already talked yesterday evening, and we had intended on sending that out to all of our operators to gather that data for Wyoming specific as well.
Thank you. Good job. All right, carry on.
One last thing on the FBI background check. We're still waiting for the thumbs up on the parimutuel changes that were made. The sports wagering one took 18 months to get back the answer, so I'm not exactly sure when we'll see that, but we can still operate as we have been with the parimutuel side. Item number 15 is the 2024 Race Season and Breeders Award Fund, and I'll turn this over to Ms. Koltiska.
Thank you, President Bouchard and Commissioners. As you know, I have a lot to say, so it'll take a while here. Just kidding. I will be doing a quick summary of the 24 Racing Season and Breeders' Awards Fund. The reports that I submitted are on C634 through 638, I believe, which consist of 2024 live meet statistics regarding number of race days, races, starters, and purse contributions per operator, total purses paid and total handle, as well as live meet stats regarding starters, number of races, number of Wyoming races. And this year I've added between quarter horse and thoroughbred, since it's starting to become evident that we need to keep those records to see how many we have. And then the last report is on the wagering activity purse distribution report from going clear back to 2014, all the way through the current numbers. I'm not going to read those numbers, but everybody can look at those. What I am going to do is do a live meet summary and Wyoming bred summary. The Wyoming Gaming Commission granted 54 live race dates in 2024 to 3 permittees that hosted the races throughout the state. Over 6.7 million in purses were paid out to horsemen in 2024 throughout the 5 months of live racing, which we started the middle of May through the last day of September. There were 520 races conducted with 4,331 starters. Out of those, there was 2,791 quarter horses and 1,540 thoroughbreds. The breakdown for purses paid and starters per racetrack operator is provided in the packet, as I previously discussed. With the 5 extra days run in 2024, which was 54 versus 2023, which was 49, the number of races and starters went up as suspected. Unfortunately, the number of Wyoming bred races remained roughly the same, with 112 races ran in 2024 versus 105 in 2023, something that the operators should look at very closely. I believe that having the overlapping dates for the Wyoming bred futurities played a factor in the numbers, as the trial should have been more had more trials if all Wyoming breds were going to be able to participate. But however, if you qualified or just ran and won at Energy Downs, you were not able to run at Wyoming Downs. It was just too close. So now without having the overlapping dates, I think that we'll see those numbers rise again in 2025. In 2023, over $6.8 million was awarded to the owners, breeders, and stallion owners who participated in the Wyoming Bred Breeders Program. In 2024, 435 Wyoming bred racehorses participated in live racing opportunities in the Cowboy State, 66 more than the previous year. They accumulated almost 9,100 in points compared to 7,633 and a half in 2023. We estimated the total in the Breeders' Award Fund will exceed an astounding $8.3 million this year, making it again one of the highest per capita Breeders' Award Program fund distributions in the nation. Safety once again was a priority and main topic of discussion during the racing season with the Take the Lead on Safety initiative. Not only was the focus on equine safety, but also the mental health issues surrounding the industry. The Wyoming Gaming Commission hired a third-party track safety inspector team, Equine Risk Management, who are responsible for pre-meet racetrack safety inspections to include checking the condition of the racetrack surface, rails, starting gate, track equipment, paddock area, test barn area, and barn area. After completion of all the inspections, a comprehensive report of the findings were provided to the commission, with any major problems being corrected before the start of each meet. Going forward, we need the commission's guidance on report findings and how to make sure these findings are dealt with by the staff and operators, which we did speak about, and I think have a resolution that these should be done prior to the running of the next year, should be completed. During 2024, Nick kind of based on, talked about that, there was 10 fatalities accounted for on the track, with 5 being reported as actual racing fatalities during the live races compared to 14 in 2023. Almost a 30% decrease in fatalities, proving that the gaming commissions take the lead on safety initiative and working with the operators is working. For the integrity of the sport, the Wyoming Gaming Commission spent over $105,000 in post-race lab testing, including blood, urine, and hair samples. We took over 812 samples, were sent into industrial labs. We have here today this commission vet, Dr. Erickson, who actually performed all of the pre-race vet checks and drew all those 812 samples, basically, him and his team. So I'd like to give a round of applause to them. If you can, so everybody could see. Stewards at the live meet adjudicated 59 cases with rulings in 2024, with 8 being medication violations for positive tests, and the remaining 51 were just personal procedural rule violations among licensees. That includes falsification of licenses, careless riding, late scratches, anything in our rules of racing that where they didn't follow the rules in Wyoming. Also in 2024, the commission took a firm stance to stop illegal match racing in the Cowboy State and passed a rule under corrupt practices in the parimutuel rule of racing. This new rule will go into effect in 2025 and states that no licensed person shall participate in any unsanctioned or otherwise illegal live flat track racing events. For 2025, safety will once again be a key factor. And also with this commission, I believe that safety has always been our first priority, but now working together with everybody, the stakeholders, it's really become the forefront, which racing across the country, safety is the main concern. The staff will also focus on the rules of racing this year to update current rules that will comply more with industry standards and work on out-of-date rules, which we also discussed earlier. I think it's very important that we look at that and revamp it. So my question is, what does the future of Wyoming racing look like and the Breeders' Award Program? At this point, it is anyone's guess. But we do know for certain that the passage of the historical horse racing has changed the landscape forever. In a time when closing the doors and tearing down racetracks seem to be the norm, Wyoming is the place that is defying the odds. It is important to preserve the rich racing legacy in this industry has provided to this state, its citizens, and its breeders. Maintaining a quality and fair racing and breeding program is paramount to the success of its future. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Okay, so I see item 15F, Director's Report. Is that possessive plural or just singular? Plural. It's plural? Okay, okay, plural. Okay, good.
Thank you, President Broussard. The Director's Report. I heard something this week, it was kind of interesting. We work from one crisis to another with brief periods of success in between. This is how we work, this is what we do, and we're having a lot of successes right now. There are crises, but this is how we get better. So I'm not sure if this segues into the next thing that I'd like to read for you, but it's going to.
Take it. It's the Director's Report.
And I'm going to read a letter that I wrote. Maybe I am. To Governor Gordon. It says, I want to express my sincere and humble appreciation. You know what?
Let Brandy read it.
Can you read it? Yeah, be better than mine right now.
Governor Gordon, I want to express my sincere and humble appreciation for the opportunity to be a part of this organization since 2008. As you know, we have been working towards my retirement for several months, and we are now approaching closing the project. I hereby tender my retirement date for February 3rd, 2025, with my last day in the office of December 13th, 2024. I understand that my health care benefits will continue until February 28th, 2025. I also understand that I will be paid my full salary and any accrued sick or leave through February 3rd, 2025. Sincerely, Charles Moore.
So thank you, Brandy, for doing that. So with that, this gives me the opportunity to take care of some personal things. I will be working from home. I will be handing off the mantle on the 13th to Nick officially. That will be my last day as director. This has been able to happen because Nick and I have been working towards this for over 5 years. And it also happens because of your trust in me, but also through the interview process that we did with Nick. And, my original plan was, since we'd been budgeted for a little longer, hey, stay and make some money. Stay in there and stay fighting and doing what we do. But that's not probably in my best interest at this point. So I just want to say thank you. And one other thing, I'm having a hard time reading stuff right now. I guess I'll put my glasses on. That'll help. And again, I believe in a lot of these things, but, what we do, we don't do our jobs and do the work we do for the acknowledgements. We don't do it for the praises. We don't do it for the awards. And if you're in state government, you realize real quick, we're probably not doing it for the money, nor this volunteer board. So as you move through your career, what you've got to do is become a better person. And because of the last 17 years, the friendships that I've developed at this table, here, everybody in this darn room, and everybody that I talk to, I am a better person because of your friendship and the friendships that I've solidified. So thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Good job. I cried at mine, but for other reasons.
No wonder we're always jacking around.
Yeah,
So
yeah, sorry. All right,
that's a hard one to follow, Nick.
Director number 2, you got a report?
Thanks, President Broussard. I'll be quick.
Okay.
I can follow that. I just want to thank everybody in the commission, the staff, the stakeholders. It is extremely humbling to sit here and have the amount of support that I have. Coming into this, I'm excited. I think the staff's excited. We're looking forward to, the future. It's a crazy time.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a crazy time. So we're looking forward to it. Not much is going to change in the way of we're available. I'm always available. If I don't answer one phone, I'll definitely answer the other one. If you don't have the other phone number, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. And
Don't
again, I
exist.
want to thank everybody. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Nick, and congratulations. Okay, so at this point, that's the quickest 2 directors meeting comments we've had. All right, so we're going to move on to executive session. Does anyone see a necessity to go into executive session? Not seeing any, we'll move to discussion of dates for the next meeting.
President Broussard, I guess it's last page, page 640. The recommended dates for the 2025 calendar year would be January 16th, March 20th, May 15th, July 17th, September 18th, and then the annual fall meeting, November 20th and November 19th and 20th. This falls in line with the same schedule that we had this last year, doing every other month starting in January. The January meeting does start a few days after the session. It should be early enough in the session, though, that it doesn't interfere. At least that's what we're hoping. Every one of those dates, this building is available, this room is available. But if that doesn't work for anybody, we can,
Okay.
whatever we need to change.
So do we need to approve those dates or just thumbs up it? I like that we have dates year out. Any comments or questions before we move on? The dates are set for the whole year. All right, thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we will put those on the calendar for all of 2025.
Perfect. Thank you. So if there's no other business, then we will adjourn the meeting. The meeting's adjourned. Oh, sorry.
So this will be my last meeting. I chose not to run again, and so I will not be the liaison from the House anymore. I've enjoyed working with this commission, and you guys are doing great work. And I, like Charlie, get a little choked up here, but I've enjoyed meeting with you all. I've enjoyed working with you all, and good luck.
Thank you.
To go forward.
Thank you.
All right.
President
You're
Broussard.
not off the hook.
No, you're stuck.
You're stuck.
Maybe. All right. Well,
President Broussard, you also have another item B.
okay, yeah, so for the good of the order, I guess if anyone has anything to add before I close the meeting, this is your last second. We'll give you all of 12 seconds. Bob, you're excluded. Huh? You've already had your say. All right. Last chance. All right, thank you very much, and the meeting's adjourned.